I think about World War II a lot. It was a strange time. It was an uncertain time. These people who lived through the war, they didn't know what the outcome would be. If you think about it, the stakes were pretty high. It would either be an Allied victory or a fascist dictatorship. And I can't begin to imagine how scary that was. I can't begin to imagine how difficult it was to remain positive during that time. People didn't know where their next meal would be coming in. They didn't even know if their husbands, brothers, or fathers were even alive. And for some people, they didn't even know if they'd survive until the morning. Such bravery, and such determination, and such optimism. I can't help but compare that to now. We have instant communication with the internet. We have diverse and complicated supply chains to bring us in goods from all over the world. We have had the longest peacetime in history.
State of the war. The Russians.
Up until recently. With the rising conflict, people have been talking a lot about a global conflict, much like World War II. When I look back at World War II, I often think, what can I learn from their experiences? What can I take and use in my own life, whether there is war or not? I've learned 3 life lessons whilst looking back at World War II. Number 1 is that optimism is a choice. Number 2 is that we do not need a lot. And number 3 is to think big. Optimism is a choice. So imagine this, you live in central London. Bombs are dropping from Nazi aeroplanes. You live off rations supplied by the government. The war effort is going horribly. You have friends and family that are stuck in France. It's not looking good. And yet we see this resilience, this optimism, this choice to think positively. And it kept people going. People came together to keep each other going, to look out for each other. People didn't give up when all seemed lost. Even at the height of Hitler's regime, people refused to bend the knee, they refused to give in, and they refused to be ruled by a dictator like Hitler. There were songs and posters, and we pulled together. And to me, this is just so beautiful. It puts all of my anxiety and all of my worries into perspective. I've not got Nazi bombs dropping on my home. My issues pale in significance when compared. Whatever my stress or whatever my problem, it is nothing compared to that. And that is why I choose optimism. We don't need much, and World War II proved that. When it came to what people lived off during the war, people made very little go very far.
They rationed all basic foods except bread and vegetables. For tea is as precious to British workers as coffee is to Americans.
I think we really take for granted what we have now, and I think about that on a regular basis. We live in a period of time where the rate of technology is advancing quicker than any other period of time. But what is crazy to me is that this isn't making people happier. This is making people more miserable. The freedom that technology has brought us and the closeness and connection that social media has brought us is not making us happier. People in World War II didn't need much. And if they didn't need much, then neither do I. If they were happier in war than I am now, then that says a lot. Think big. I think we have life very easy compared to those in the 1940s. If I were born in 1920, I think about how that could have been me. That could have been me that went to the front lines. It could have been me on D-Day storming the beaches of Normandy. But it's not. I live now in the 21st century. But it could have been me. But if it were me, how differently would I approach life? How would I approach everyday situations? And how would it affect my decision making? I am absolutely confident that my priorities would be different. I'm sure I'd stop being so selfish and I'd put my friends and family first. I'd stop caring about arbitrary things and I'd start caring about things that really matter. I'm sure I wouldn't care about whether my t-shirt was Gucci or if my Instagram post got more than 100 likes. I'd care about whether my family knew that I loved them or if that there was someone in need that they could count on me, that they'd know that I'd be the first person to help them. And I'm sure I'd also think very deeply about life's biggest questions, like why are we here? Do I really matter? And is there life after death? After having fought the Nazis for 4 years, I sincerely doubt that I'd be taking my life for granted. Well, why isn't that true now? Why would it take for me to stare at death in the face before I started asking myself, what is the meaning of life? I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's definitely a bit different, it's definitely a bit deeper, and it's something I am incredibly passionate about. I love the history of World War II. It moves me so deeply when I think about those that have died for us, for our freedoms, and I hope that in a very small way that this video would honour them. I am very grateful for the life I have now and that I am not facing the Nazi war machine. People then would hope that we would learn from that period of time rather than repeating the same mistakes over and over again.